my introduction, I'm from Mexico. I have a bachelor's degree in international business. That was my first bachelor's. I came to the United States and I thought, I'm always been passionate about knowing about other cultures. But it was kind of like a cultural shock when I came here because I used to come to shop and for vacations. But until I moved with my husband, he was a student at U of A, and I also joined some classes over there. I I noticed that this country is so diverse, so many cultures mingle, and that's when I think I started being more curious about it. Um, well, I noticed that many of us are in the health coaching field and or health. So, which I think is going to be amazing because now we have noticed with this COVID pandemic that culture has a big influence about how people take care of their health and about they approach their health and also the resources they have to be in good shape and healthy. So being said that and knowing a little bit about you, if you had a airplane ticket, bus ticket, train ticket to go to the place, it's a free ticket, so you can go anywhere you want. What your favorite is, favorite food or dish is being made? Where would you go? I can tell you where because I have so many favorite dishes, but maybe I will say Japan. I love sushi and their soups, and I love it. So who wants to share?
So I guess I'd want to go to Italy because I love Italian food.
Any particular dish or just Italian food?
You know, I guess I think northern Italy is a lot of cream sauces. I don't like that. So spaghetti or red sauces, maybe southern Italy.
Yeah,
Or
I also love Italian food. Yeah.
Mediterranean.
Oh, my
Yeah.
goodness, yeah. That sounds amazing. Anyone else?
Yes, I would love to visit Spain because that's where my family is from. And I've had like paella and different cuisines from my Spanish family, but I've never had it in Spain. So it would be wonderful to visit there and try it.
Do you know what part in Spain they are?
I know one is from Gallega,
Uh-huh.
and I don't remember the other one.
Oh my gosh. Do you cook paella?
Well, I'm vegan, so it's been one of my goals to like successfully make a vegan paella, which I haven't yet, but I'm looking at recipes.
That would be amazing. I love paella.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Have you visited Spain any time?
No, I haven't. I went on Google Earth to check it out and see what it would look like to be there. So that was really fun. And there's a lot of vegan restaurants there. So it would be really cool to check out vegan Spanish restaurants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else?
I have to say India because I love curry food.
Oh, there's Rachel.
Hi.
Hi, Rachel.
Rachel, you have to introduce yourself while you're telling us where you'd like to go because I had to do it for you.
Sorry about that. So hi, I'm Rachel. I am a junior through Arizona State's online program. I'm majoring in nutrition and I am the secretary for this organization.
Thank you, Rachel. Do you have any particular dish from India or?
Pretty much I love curry, so.
Curry, that is amazing, yeah. I love curry, yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna tell a quick story. It was a cultural shock as well, knowing about cultures. There is a restaurant, I'm living in Chandler, Arizona. There is a restaurant over here nearby where they sell, I think, is variana. It's like a dish with the rice and chicken on top, and then they give you a dessert and stuff. And they make it really spicy. So the first time we bought it, I didn't know how to eat it, so I put that dessert on top of everything because I thought that was gonna kind of like suit the spice. And then yeah, one of my husband's friend is from India. He knew we liked it, and he brought some, and he taught us how to eat it, and we were just cracking up when I was like, oops, so is that dessert that's not on top? So he was having so much fun. Thank you, Rachel. Who's next?
I can say something. I like Turkish food, Mediterranean overall, like anything that has those kinds of flavors. I was telling Trisha that I like baba ganoush, which is a dish with eggplant, just almost like hummus, but with eggplant. So I like those. I love olives. I love anything that has to do with kind of that Mediterranean hint to it. But I also like paella a lot, and I cook a mean paella.
Thank you, Karen. Who are we missing?
I'll jump in. I love all foods and everything you guys mentioned, I love. I'm also a vegan, so I convert everything to vegan. So I've converted, made vegan ravioli with vegan basil sauce. So I love to put the mushrooms marinated in wine, and I do vegan sausage and load it with vegetables, and is one of many favorites.
Wow, that sounds interesting. Vegan sausage. That might be yummy. Thank you. How about, are we missing Chandra? Did I say it correctly?
Yeah. Yes, Chandra. Yes, ma'am. Sorry, just a moment. Sorry, guys. Okay. Anyway, so typically, I was gonna say Jamaica. I don't remember the dish that I've heard so vividly about, but I wanted to try it so bad. It's like a spicy chicken, something with like orange spicy chicken or something like that. So I've just always been wanting to go there to try different foods.
Oh my goodness.
Mhm.
That sounds yummy.
If only
Okay,
I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, have you been to Jamaica?
I haven't, but I want to. I've been to Guam. Their food there is interesting. It's interesting, but it's different. Something I never had. So.
Yeah. Thank you, Chandra. Are we missing everybody? Anyone? Okay, so yeah, I'm not seeing like two people that were here. So let's go to the next one. So what is culture for you? What do you think about when you hear the word culture?
Since Catherine didn't speak up on the last one, why don't we invite her into this first?
Yeah, let's see, I would say culture would be an identity that would be involved with family and also how you view yourself in how you've kind of discovered how you're comfortable almost. It's like traditional and then how you build yourself up from experiences.
Thank you. So how about Viva? Can you hear us, Viva? Yeah,
Hi,
okay.
yes, sorry, just because I'm driving, so bear with me. For me, culture probably would be just kind of like what I grew up with, the norms and expectations I grew up with and experiences, whether it's food and family and just basically kind of like the way I was raised. I'm originally from Vilnius, Lithuania, so we have obviously quite different culture than a lot of other countries as well. So I think it's just how you grew up with, or what you grew up with.
Thank you, Viva. So who else do we have over here? Marley.
Really, yeah, to me, culture, I think, encompasses a lot of things, you know, from language to cuisine to music. So it's really just culture is, you know, a particular group of people or social group and the customs of that group. Thank you.
Thank you, Marley. Anyone else wants to share something? Any thoughts?
Well, Tanya didn't speak.
Okay. Uh-oh, is my camera on? Okay, I don't see me. Oh,
Oh, there you go.
can y'all hear me? Okay, there it goes. Can you hear me? I see
Yes.
me. It's my microphone. Um, I think she asked about culture. Is that correct?
Yes.
To me, culture is, I have to say, a way of one's upbringing, the legacy of their uh, the history, and not necessarily the group or ethnicity, but how they live, their environmental um, happenings and upbringings. You know, the types of food, the garments they wear, and things of the sort. So that's what I think culture is. One's way of living and thriving, and uh, the events that happen, you know, that they continuously do in that particular uh, group of living.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, I can see. So like we kind of like we have like the same idea that culture involves, you know, how people live, their history, their food, how they relate to each other, and those things. And what is cultural competence to you?
Cultural competence to me is, I think, being fully aware of one's identity within their culture, being able to communicate effectively, being able to understand, um, I guess, like empathy and sympathy, empathize and sympathize with someone, and not just being, you know, biased of our own culture, just being, you know, fully present in that person's experience and helping, you know, trying to understand, you know, where they're coming from and how they do things.
Okay, so for your cultural competence is pretty much like trying to understand people, being compassionate, and being aware about the way you communicate with people. Thank you. And how can you give me an example about when you have been aware in the past?
I have to say, like, when my mom was in the hospital, I saw there was and we were in the ED, and there was an Indian man there with his wife, and he was trying to say something to the doctor, and the doctor didn't know what he was trying to say, but his wife was signing. And I don't know a lot of signing, but I could, you know, I know the basics. So I was able to just translate just a little bit, just to get them on the right track to what he was trying to say. So to me, I was, in my mind, I'm like, okay, if more people or doctors or nurses or somebody knew signing, then, you know, we could help them say what they need to say. We could communicate effectively, and we could, you know, start, um, you know, I can't get my words out today. Just communicate effectively to get the patients what they need when they need it, and the doctors could, be fully present in the conversation with the patient, basically.
Yes, I like the fact that you bring up the idea that culture is not only involving in language, like a spoken language, is also sign language is a language. And you are talking about how that was affecting somebody in the health field. And congratulations for taking the opportunity to jump in and help somebody and practice some cultural competence. Thank you. Anyone else that wants to share what is cultural competence?
So I think to me, culture competence means accepting everyone from everyone's cultural background, and not judging anybody based on anything about them. You know, I ballroom dance, and I was dancing with a friend that I developed through dance, and she eventually divulged to me that she, in her words, she said she escaped from a cult. And well, after some deduction, I kind of determined that it's Mormonism. I don't consider that a cult, but I guess I think if you're a member of the Mormon Church, you probably do, because you're there. You can't really befriend people outside the Mormon Church, or that's a cultural thing, I think. So anyway, I think just respecting people's cultural backgrounds.
Yeah, so did you have the opportunity to practice some cultural competence when your friend shared with you that she considered her religion a cult when you don't, but you understood that she came from a point where she could, consider her
Sure.
situation
Yeah.
like that? Well, that is great.
Yeah. So I definitely felt, like to her, the background that she came from is important to her, and I didn't want to I didn't want to prejudge anything, so I just accepted everything she was telling me and left it at that. So anyway.
Thank you, Timothy. And I think that, yeah, you were really mindful about, thinking in that way, considering that she has a different point of view and still respecting her point of view. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else who wants to share? Okay, so I see Viva on the screen. Viva, would you like to share something about culture or cultural competence?
Sure. I think I practice it pretty much on a daily basis because all my friends and my fiance, they're from completely different cultural backgrounds. And I work in dentistry, so I deal with people like of different walks of life every day. So I think it just allows me to be open-minded and not judge, but try to understand people and their point of view and where they're coming from.
Yeah, so basically you are saying you value the similarities and the differences that you have, and to be able to comprehend a little bit better people. Am I right?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Anyone else? It can, well, since not everybody is looking at the screen, I'm just gonna share my description, my I forgot the word. My description for culture competence. And I think that it's been able to acknowledge, and as many of you said, accept the similarities and the differences, within cultural diverse groups. And that is including, within culture, we can find the race, the age, education level, socioeconomic status, sexual orientation, spirituality, as was mentioned before. The language was mentioned. We can either find differences within military families, which it was amazing. I had the opportunity to know a little bit more about it in Virginia. Gender identity, etc. So being said that, those who can see or not see the screen, can you guys share how you practice cultural competence? What do you do to practice it, and what are your challenges maybe?
Personally, as far as cultural competency goes, I tend to maintain an open mind when it comes to different ideals and beliefs and practices that they may have. As far as challenges, I think the understanding of whether again, when it comes to cultural competency, having your own set of beliefs and practices may contradict what that person may believe. So again, I feel like that's where that open-mindedness comes into play. But differentiating yourself from your own personal ways could, I feel like that will be kind of a challenge for some people, depending on the conversation. Like if it was about something severe, like, I don't know, less politics or anything that's going on currently, if it's that much of an in-depth conversation, I feel like then there'll be a lot of chaos maybe, depending. But I think the cultural competency relies on being open-minded and unbiased.
Yeah, so Shanta, you mentioned that it's like being aware, being open-minded, but you also mentioned challenges. And like it can get chaotic. Can you think about any situation that for you in particular is challenging and you have to be like more aware of the moment?
Well, I would say I think of, because I worked a lot in the food industry. So, you know, I kind of went blank there. But I'm sorry, could you repeat one more time for me? I'm sorry.
I was asking you, you mentioned chaotic situations. So do you have any particular situation where you can think of when you had to be more aware, that you had to be open-minded and practice cultural competence?
Yeah, okay. So yeah, definitely the food industry, it's not quite an alignment with cultural competency to the max, but when it comes to like customer service or like the kind of food that they eat and they don't like, then we'll, you know, like say we don't serve a certain thing, then, you know, having alternatives along the way just to kind of fit what they are looking for and understanding like, oh, I'm vegan, or oh, I'm vegetarian, pescatarian, however such. I mean, I feel like that is part of culture when it comes to how they take care of themselves and what they eat. So I feel like there was an occasion where there was a certain difficulty, but it wasn't like extreme. So yeah, I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah. So so I can hear that you're saying you were compassionate. You were listening to people, and in that way you were able to offer solutions.
Yeah, exactly.
And thank you. Okay, so yeah, so now that you mentioned challenges, we all had that awkward moment that, you know, brings us when you feel like, oh my gosh. I'm gonna tell you my first awkward moment I can remember coming to the United States. As I said, I came for vacations, I came to shop, but the first time I had to go to the gas station and my husband was not with me. I had to load gas by myself and I didn't know because I never care about it. So I was standing there looking at the machine, and then the guy, I was looking for somebody to help me because I'm from Mexico. In Mexico, you never get out of the car. They load the gas for you all the time. So I was looking for somebody, was like, oh my gosh. And then the guy spoke to me through the speaker. Was like, oh my gosh, where is he at? Like, come over here. Yeah, but I think I spent like 20 minutes in the gas station. So that was my awkward moment when in that case, it was ignorance. I didn't know. And sometimes, you know, that prevents us from practicing cultural awareness. And so does somebody has an awkward moment to share, or your challenges?
I have one.
Oh, Catherine has one.
You can go if you want.
Go ahead, Catherine.
Okay. I teach swim lessons, and I've taught them since I was about 10. And when you first go into the business, you're an aide, basically. And it's very interesting because our community pool caters to people of all backgrounds. And the first year as an aide, I was working with like the 3-year-olds, I would say. And there are a lot of Indian kids in there. And it was interesting because the parents had different reactions and I didn't understand what was happening. So like there was a lot of kids that were scared because it was brand new. And then this one mom just picked up her kid and threw him in the water. And we're all like, you can't do that. Like, that's wrong. And from her perspective, that's how she was taught to swim. And so I felt very ignorant in that situation because it's just like, I didn't know how other cultures treated swimming. And even still, like, there hasn't been any so far this year with COVID, but up until last year with swim lessons, I would still learn about other backgrounds and how people view safety around swimming. And it's just all very interesting to learn from that industry.
Yeah, that is interesting, Catherine. Thank you. Thank you. I also heard a lady from Africa. She shared with me that for them, sending kids to the pool is pretty much sending them to death. So it's like killing them, basically. Yeah. So thank you for sharing. And I think you said I didn't know that. So that's amazing that you were able to practice some cultural competence by sharing that you didn't know was their way. Thank you. Okay. I can see just a few people if I scroll down, but anyone wants to share?
I want to share one. This is Karen. So mine are usually related to food because I'm adventurous with food intake. So the first time I had green onions, like I'm from Puerto Rico, so we don't eat green onions in Puerto Rico. We just have yellow onions, sweet onions, and we cook with them. So the first time I went to school at U of A in Tucson, one of my friends says this, he's a Mexican friend, and he says, I'm going to take you to this wonderful place in Tucson where you're going to eat typical Sonoran food. And he's like, you need to try this, you need to try this. And he puts it on my plate. So I start eating my onions from the leaves. And they start laughing at me. I'm like, oh, why are you guys laughing? Like, because you need to eat the actual onion, not necessarily the leaves from it. And then another one, I learned my lesson finally when I did that. And I've never eaten a fresh artichoke either. So, you know, and I am a nutritionist, so I have a lot of adventures in eating just because I'm very curious. So I just stand behind and I just look and see how people did eat the artichoke so then I could eat it because I had no idea on how to, you know, peel the leaves and soften them and then eat the heart. I had no idea how to do it. But, you know, being from Puerto Rico, we have a typical food that is called pasteles, which is like Mexican tamales, and it's wrapped with banana leaves. So I've given this to friends of mine and they actually start eating the banana leaves, right? Because a lot of times we don't know that this is not an edible product. It's just used as a wrapping, like the corn husks. Anyway, so those are some of mine. I have a lot of others, but I think that the food intake ones are kind of funny.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. So basically you learned your experience and you learned that in order to practice cultural competence, sometimes you have to observe before getting into action, right? Yeah, and I think that is really interesting how you can practice it in different ways. Thank you. Anyone else who wants to share anything? I just to let you know, to some of the ones who are not seeing the screen, some of the challenges that I'm mentioning when practicing cultural competencies BS, which is unconscious stereotyping and attitudes. We have internalized feelings. We might feel superior or inferior to other races, and sometimes it's discrimination. Sometimes it's conscious, sometimes unconscious. I was talking to Karen, and I'm from Mexico. I'm from Sonora, where she was eating the onions. Yeah, you start with the white. And I can tell you that we were talking about how even in our own Hispanic culture, we discriminate people, sometimes by color, but mostly is by socioeconomical background. Does anyone to share being said that?
I think I have an experience to share.
Go ahead.
So my boyfriend is half white, half American, and half Arabic. And I took him home to meet my mom and my stepdad. And we were both like nervous to tell them because he looks like white passing, you know, doesn't seem like anything else. And my mom kept asking like, oh, what's your last name? Where's your dad from? All these questions. And we were too nervous to like tell her the truth about his ethnicity. And so we finally told her and she was okay with it. And we were just surprised. We were like, it was like a relief. But the fact that we were so scared to like open up and tell her the truth was like, it was a difficult challenge for us, I think.
Yeah, so you had internalized feelings and beliefs towards maybe how your mom was going to react, right?
Right.
And how, you know, have seen the culture, how she approaches culture in her way. But you were really brave by taking the decision to share with her about your boyfriend. He's important to you, she's important, so that is great. And I'm glad that everything went fine. Thank you.
Me too.
Does anyone has any more experiences or challenges, difficulties when communicating with people from another culture?
So I don't know if this exactly fits, but about 16 years ago, we adopted a little girl from Guatemala. And so bringing a baby from that culture into our family, which is predominantly Caucasian, was quite scary, I guess. And you know, my family took to her right away. It wasn't an issue, but you know, we were constantly freaked out about what other people at the restaurant or other people in the shopping mall or whatever, what they were going to think. We kind of looked like we abducted a Hispanic girl, and you know, it was you know, eye-opening that people are the same, even though in a lot of ways people are the same, even though they have a different culture. So anyway.
Okay, Timothy, so you were more concerned about how people were going to approach your daughter's culture, how she looked, and also judge you at some point.
Yeah. We lived in Minnesota at the time, and you know, there isn't a lot of mixed race going on up there. So it was awkward, difficult for us as parents, you know, to deal with that. But you know, she obviously didn't know because, well, you know, she didn't know anything about her culture really.
How do you feel about it now? Do you feel the same kind of feeling, or has it changed?
I don't. Actually, her mother and I don't even know that there is a cultural difference. she is fully aware that she is, you know, from a different cultural background, but not in our family. You know, where she's blended in. So
Yeah, well, that's amazing. So you and your wife, your family practice cultural competence like constantly, because she is, even though she's from another culture, and she knows, she's, as you said, she has blended in, and she has become one of you. So I think it's amazing, and how also you over overcame, the judging feeling about maybe you know got a child or bought a child or kidnapped her from somebody, and now it's your daughter. So yeah, that can be scary. And thank you for sharing. That's an amazing story. And just keep doing whatever you're doing. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so do I call names? Red, have you had any challenges when communicating with people from another culture, or trying to understand?
Are you speaking, did you call me?
Yes.
Okay. One thing I've had, I'm sure, a lot that I can think of in the past that I felt awkward, but I learned and grew from that to make me feel not the guilty party. But I will bring up one thing, because you have on your list here implicit biases, learned unconscious stereotypings. When I was younger, I didn't see color. All my friends were all different races, different colors, and I hung out with all of them. And when I got to middle school, I think back then they called it junior high school. I mean, I don't know if they still call it junior high. I had friends of mine come up to me and say, "You shouldn't be hanging around with that person because," and I looked at them, I go, "Why?" "Well, you'll ruin your reputation." And I couldn't figure out what they meant. And so I came in a family that all was accepted. And I have a sister who's in a wheelchair. And I just grew up in a very, I don't know, very educated, that all people, although my father, was not, the way he grew up, he did bring out color issues, but it was because of what was taught to him when he was younger. But these are things that are taught to us by other people who were taught by it, by other people who were taught by it. And it irritates me because we're all from the same, under the same, in my eyes, creator, and we're all one. And it just makes me angry. I mean, now I understand it better, that there are some ignorant people out there, and we just have to educate them.
Yeah, thank you, Rid. I can see, cultural competence can also be learned, as you said, and you learn it from your parents, and you have it in the core of your heart, in your mind. And I think that is amazing. In that you said, I didn't see any difference in color. And I have seen, that many kids don't see those differences. And it's after, the internalized beliefs, like your friends were telling you that your reputation was going to be ruined because the person was another color. Those can be internalized, and that's when people or kids switch their mind and then decide to think differently. Congratulations.
Absolutely. This one particular person that she was not, in that time, she was a special, I don't know what they call it now, special education. She was somebody I grew up with and hung out with in the neighborhood. And her and I are of the same neighborhood culture and everything. And people made fun of her, and it made me mad. So I was always stick up for her and support her. And that was probably one of the things, that there was a bias, because they judged her as to not to be intellectual like they thought they were. And in fact, it was wrong. And I didn't like it. So it wasn't not necessarily a race thing. This was more of somebody's attitude, what they felt I should not be hanging around with. And it made me angry. But I didn't understand it either at the time. I needed to learn what people were doing. Now I know better.
Yeah, thank you, Red. So I can see also that you had some experience with people who felt superior in intelligence or in any sort of way. So and
that's true.
you took the approach and you just stood up for yourself and for your friend.
That's
You
true.
must have really
Felt superior.
Thank you, Red. Does anyone wants to add anything over here?
I
Okay,
kind of
so
have something that goes along with that a little bit. It kind of deals with me personally, but this was a conversation that happened between my mom and my Nana. And my Nana has an issue with mixed race relationships. So my mom and my Nana were together, and they saw a Black man and a white woman walking together holding hands, and my Nana's like, I have issue with that. I'm not accepting of that. And my mom actually went ahead and told her, and she was like, I don't care if my daughter brings home a Black man or a woman, as long as they treat her as a queen, then I'm happy for whoever comes along the way. And I just thought that just made me so happy.
wow, so your mom was teaching you a lesson how to be cultural competent and how to stand up for her thoughts herself and for the ones that she loves, which who happens to be you. How did you feel when your mom answered that?
That just made me feel a lot better too, because sometimes I'm like curious as to like if I were to bring home someone that was like of a different color or race or like was the same sex as me, is like what would their reaction be? And now I know for a fact that my mom is accepting, and as long as they treat me right, then she'll be happy for me.
Yeah, I can see that you feel accepted and you feel loved and cared for.
Yes.
That is amazing. Marley, do you have anything to share? I haven't heard you, Noel. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear everyone. No, I don't have anything to add. It's just been wonderful to listen to everyone's story. I've really taken a lot from everyone today. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we hear that there are many challenges. So we hear about also mistreatment from Red's story, like people were making fun of her friends. We have misunderstandings. Does anyone has any experience with a misunderstanding with somebody from another culture? That maybe you were taken in a different way, you were coming out, or you took it in a different way? Nobody? Okay, so how about has anybody seen any impact on the health on the healthcare system or healthcare besides who was sharing? I'm sorry, I'm so forgetful. Who was sharing about the Indian gentleman who was trying to communicate? Was Chandra Latanya? Does anyone has a similar experience?
I think that was Catherine. Was it Catherine?
No, but my father actually has a couple experiences. He's a dentist, and he sees a lot of people who aren't very fluent in English, who don't speak English at all, who come from lots of different backgrounds. And so I've heard a lot of stories from him over the years about his experiences.
Yeah, so he's constantly dealing with different cultures, and that must be challenging for him. And what do you think about his experiences? What have you learned from what he shares?
The main thing I've taken away is it's really good to be open-minded and to work with everybody and kind of give and take. Like there was a patient who she had just moved from somewhere in South America, I don't remember, and basically only spoke Spanish. And my brother actually minored in Spanish, so he's fairly fluent. So my dad asked him to come in and help because he was just like, this isn't working. Like I need more help from this. So kind of just figuring out how to talk with people, how to either break down what he's saying so someone can understand who's not as educated potentially, and just really working with the patient or the client is a big takeaway.
Yeah, so he overcame the barrier of ignorance. He didn't know how to speak the language as well as he wished, and then he asked for help. That is great, and I'm glad that you are open to learn from him. Thank you. Okay, so everybody, how will be your ideal cultural competence society, either at your workplace, on your social life, on your everyday activities, maybe going to the supermarket, or your own behavior, trying to be aware and mindful, or the healthcare system? I'm giving you a magic wand, and you can, if you had the magic wand, what would you do?
Well, I think that in our society, there should be more benefits for women, women's healthcare, specifically like, for instance, our monthly cycle is actually something that most people don't consider in the workplace at all, but it actually affects us a lot every day, and the woman's entire body is different than people really give us credit for. And sometimes I just feel like nobody recognizes that as much. And also like pregnancy leave, a lot of women don't have that opportunity when they work somewhere. They have to just leave, and it's very difficult for them to, like, it's an experience that I had before, so I see it as important, because it would have been really beneficial to have these types of benefits in our society.
Yeah, so you think that, Monica, let me know if I understand correctly. So you think that women need to be understood a little bit better, and
yeah, especially
in their
like
needs.
physically in the healthcare system as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we are so different. Even though we are pretty much like the same gender, as you said, we have so many differences, culturally, physically, emotionally. Thank you so much for sharing, Monica. Anyone else? What is your ideal cultural competence society?
I mean, I like what Monica brought up, because just even the terms that are used to refer to care for women, like when someone has a hysterectomy, is based on the belief that women had hysteria, and the only way to remove their hysteria was by removing the female organs, like, you know, the ovaries or the uterus. So yeah, being really aware of some of the implications of the language that we use to provide care and relate to the care that others need. I certainly think it's important. I mean, we're not going to be paying for the mistakes of other people, but we can start making changes, right? We don't have to cancel. I'm not sure that I agree with a lot of the cancel culture that is occurring right now, because we do need to learn from our mistakes from the past, but really using them to move forward and start to change that conversation in a much more enlightened way. So that's my purpose as an instructor. I feel that that's something that I can always bring to my classes.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. So yeah, so you think that trying to communicate better, understand better the person, maybe asking questions, that will be something that will help change, like taking the time to understand, right? That could help us change the healthcare system. Does anyone wants to share something else?
Before you start, I think one of the things is not, if we didn't have COVID, is when we did the social activities like parades, food markets where these different cultures would bring their foods in. I think when they display their foods and what they eat and share what their background is, like a fair or where people can go and meet these people and talk to them, that is a lot of exciting for those who go to those events, you know, the parades and things like that. And the reason I say that is because when I moved to Arizona, I didn't know what a tamale was. So when I went to an open food market, I purchased a vegan tamale, and it was like the greatest thing I ever ate. I never experienced it before. So I loved it.
Yeah, so getting involved in the community, that's what you think is important, right? Yeah, and so many things to learn from each other. And it means that you practice your cultural competence by getting involved, exposing yourself to to go like the open market and learn from people. So can you think any other way that you practice cultural competence, maybe in your field? Latania, do you have anything in particular that you do when you practice cultural competence in your field?
Trying to get my camera on. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. To continue cultural competency, I think it is important that we continue to try to understand um, uh, the people that we interact with. Don't be so heavily biased in our own culture and our own understandings, but just, listen, try to understand, be fair, do what's right, and just be try to unite decisions and perspectives.
Yeah, thank you. So you're practicing so many things at the time, like awareness, compassion, and you gave us a great example before with the gentleman at the hospital. Thank you, Latanya. How about
You're welcome.
Viva?
I pretty much agree with what everyone else said. Like I mentioned, I work in dentistry, so I have to listen to all my patients and try to understand, where they're coming from, their main concern, and just be respectful to not just, imply my ideas and views only, and like, not miss the message that they're portraying.
Yeah, so you're saying that for you it's important to know what they think. Am I right?
Yes, and what is important to them as well, because what is important to me, or I might want to teach them or educate them on, might not be necessarily as important to them or as a priority to them. Like, for example, I get patients that come in and they do have gum disease, but their main concern is really to get whitening. So you can't really judge and say, like, this is, dumb. Why would you get whitening if you're going to lose your teeth? You have to understand where they're coming from and kind of tie the two together and respect what they want and how to accomplish that goal by addressing the problems I'm seeing, but also giving them the result that they're looking for.
Wow. So you're saying you have to understand what they need, what they want. But also you are not judging, which is, that is practicing cultural competence, but you also let them know, what they might need besides
Right.
the goals. Yeah, that is good. Great. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so now I have over here something that, for those who are not seeing the screen, what skills do I need? Can anybody think about skills that we need? I hear somebody saying educate.
I'm going to say very good listening skills.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so I have over here some things that I was reading articles before this, and what I kind of like, most of them were repeating and I resigned with was educating yourself, which was mentioned, like feeling out of your comfort zone. It's okay to feel uncomfortable or feel discomfort. Ask questions, and sometimes ask permission to ask questions. So I had a coworker, and she used the hijab, and I asked her, "Do you mind if I ask you something about your culture?" And she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm open." So also get involved. who shared the story about her mom and her grandma. So get involved in, because if you can still get involved if it doesn't affect you directly. And I have a quote here from Martin Luther King, which says, "In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends." And Red also, she shared that she was standing up for her friend and for her beliefs, and because she didn't like people bullying her. Also try to surround yourself with people from diverse cultures, not only in your personal life, but also in your professional life. And just be ready to have mistakes and be ready to apologize and say, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean it in that way." So that's an opportunity to grow. Does anybody has any more ideas? Catherine, do you have any ideas? Okay, who do we have over there?
I don't, and there's currently a dog barking, so sorry.
No worries. Reddy, you want to say something?
For me, my biggest was getting back into college. My educational career has really changed and opened but for others who don't do our path, we have to be the example and set that in a loving way, in a compassionate way, to hopefully help them. Maybe it would be a conversation with them, or going out and having coffee, or just going for a walk, just sharing that. And a real quick example, I live outside of Phoenix, up in the north, in the foothills of the mountains, and I met a woman who had 2 horses, and she was sharing that she smokes marijuana, and she asked me if I did, and I said, "No, I don't." And then she immediately said, "Do you have a problem with it?" And I said, "No." And as soon as she gave me that tone, I immediately realized that she was thinking that I was going to be against her or not be her friend. And in any way, I said, "No." I said, "If this is," and she said, "Well, I do medical." And I said, "No, if this is what helps you or you enjoy it, that's your prerogative." And so making non-judgments and setting the example for others when we're in those situations.
Yeah, so you were able to recognize her needs and not judge her because you didn't resign with it, but still say, "Okay, I respect you." Yeah, that is great. Okay, so what do we need to do different in order to practice cultural competence, how we can make a difference according to our strengths? And that is a thought, so we can make a goal today to practice cultural competence. And I love this quote that I saw, and it says, "A goal should scare you a little and excite you a lot." So being said that, what is that thought about cultural competence that excites you? Does anybody wants to share a goal?
I just like the fact of meeting new people from different walks of life, different ethnic groups, and things of the sort. I think it's exciting to learn the things that make them happy, whether it's cooking, reading different types of books, the clothes they wear, the fabrics. It's just interesting to see how others, how they thrive. And that excites me.
Okay, so Latonia, so you're saying that that's one of your goals, getting to know more people and a little bit more about their background, their culture?
Yes, yes, getting to know more people. I think that, we shouldn't just, you know, uh, believe it or not, I'm shy. I'm really shy. But I do know that in order to get to know someone, I do know that I have to, um, you know, be fully present in, when you meet someone. So you have to be transparent and honest, and, to have a healthy conversation and to learn more about that person. So, but I actually do enjoy meeting people.
Okay, so you know what you need to get to know new people. how many people will be good to meet in a month, let's say for the next month?
Oh, wow.
What is your goal?
Yeah. Oh, I don't I don't know that.
One
Let's
person
see.
will be good, 2, 3.
Yeah, let's see. Since we have Corona going on, I'll say 2, and I'll probably end up doing that in a supermarket or something.
Oh
You
my
know.
goodness, that is amazing. Yeah, thank you, Latonia.
So yeah, you're welcome.
Enjoy. That sounds fun. Anyone else who wants to share a goal? Marley, do you have a goal you want to share?
My long-term goal is just to continue to be a lifelong learner and learn more about other cultures along the way. Thank you.
Thank you. Monica, do you have a goal that you want to share today?
Yes. I've been job searching for a couple months now, and my goal was to work at Banner. So I was applying for job after job, and I finally got hired. And so I'm starting in September, and my job is to make sure that people are wearing masks when they enter the building and that they don't have a fever. So I think in that job, my goal will be like to have confidence to talk to someone. And if they disagree with wearing a mask, just feeling comfortable enough to respect their decision, but ask them to leave or whatever my job is in that position. So just being able to do that job effectively is my goal.
Oh, wow, that's a tough job.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I hear so many things about it. But you are willing to understand they don't want to because they have certain beliefs and not judge them, but you have to do your job, which is not letting them in without the mask.
Exactly.
So, maybe your goal is like respectfully asking them to leave without fighting or
right. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Monica, and good luck. You need a lot of luck.
Thank you.